dysfunctional bed here with the Costway windmill. This is the user manual. I think I paid 75, 80 bucks for it, not really sure. I don't really like paying that much money, but it turned out to be a whole lot better quality. The assembly instructions, the tower, assembling the tower, in the back page. The assembly of the tower is kind of interesting. Right up here we have the legs going up into the top piece, and I'll show you that on film in just a minute. Right up here we're going to have the top of the windmill. This is where the guys would stand if they were working on it. They'll sit right here, and then you have these long struts. These are B1 at the top and at the bottom, and you have the shorter ones here, B2 and B3 on the bottom. You got your wind turbine up here. You have your extension here for the tail section. Then you have your tail section here. What was throwing me off, and the reason I decided to go ahead and make this video, is this piece right here should be on the inside of that. It doesn't fit tight. Fortunately, they have a decent photograph right up here. Let's see if I can zoom in on it without this blowing away. It's pretty windy today. Do you see that? The bolt is on the outside, the leg is on the outside. Oops, lost it. There we go. So, let's take a look at what that really looks like while I put this paperweight back on it. This is what the pieces look like. Now it shows a washer on the outside, a flat washer, and there's only 4. I put them on the inside because there's a large hole similar to these large holes right down here. The washer will just give better stability. I'm getting ready to drop the top plate, the working platform, onto the windmill, and then I'll be putting the B1 extension legs on here. Now they're loose right now. When I get ready to actually tighten them, I'll be tightening them with a wrench or a box end and a screwdriver. I'll also be adding thread lock. Now this is red number 42. I normally use blue, but I couldn't find it. The blue is not quite as strong, but once I put this together, hopefully no tree will fall on it and I won't ever be doing anything with it again. The wheel is out of round. I'll show you that in a film in a moment, but there'll be a lot of vibration on this, so I don't want these nuts loosening up. They're not lock nuts, and there's not lock washers on it. So what this will do is it will prevent these things from backing off and it falling apart on me at an inopportune time where the nuts get lost in the dirt. So I'll go ahead and put this thing together, and I'll show you the completed stages, not the actual assembly itself. At this point, this is still loose. I have my screws right back here on both sides, and my legs are extended out. These pieces right here, I put through like so to hold while I lift this into place, and then I put this on, and in the meanwhile, as you can see, they're kind of just stuck down here and crossed. When I put the next set of legs on, then I'll move these into position. I'll come back, I'll firm up these nuts up here. Yikers. I'll firm up these nuts right here and here, and again, I'm not going to tighten everything until it's fully assembled. I'll come back, I'll loosen them one at a time, put my thread lock on it, and then put it all together the rest of the way. Alright, my platform is on. My B1 supports, lateral supports, well, not lateral, they're diagonal supports are in place. There'll be another set, they'll be coming down here, but that will be put on afterwards. The legs consist of two pieces. As you can see, this piece is molded. It fits underneath this right here. And if you have a question as to whether this is a top piece, since they're both the same length, 29¼ inches, or the bottom piece has this hole down here where you drive a pin through to nail it into place. Now this is fairly accurate to the large windmills. A lot of times they'll actually drive rods parallel to this into the ground, and then they used to use baling wire. I've seen that. I've seen all kinds of different ways that the big windmills were anchored in place. Oops, got this one backwards. This piece is molded, so this piece right here goes on top. We'll put this together. We'll do this 4 times, and then we'll start assembling the rest of the windmill. When I'm assembling this piece, this is just a leg attachment. There's no other part that is going to this. So what I'm going to be doing is putting this together like so with my lock and my thread lock. My diagonal braces and horizontal brace connect here and just above it, but this is just a leg connection. If you've never used thread lock before, sparingly. Oh, it is blue, it's not red. This is what I wanted to use. That's enough right there. Don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can see it there. Put this little jewel on. Spin it down. I don't have a wrench with a ratchet on it. Well, guess what? I don't have the depth. I'm going to have to go get a wrench real quick. You do not want to put much pressure on these things. And I need a Phillips, and I don't have one of those either. I have to go get one. We will continue this in just a moment. Having assembled the legs, as just demonstrated, make sure you shake them and see if there's any wobble. If there is, they're not tight enough and you need to tighten them a little bit more. Once that Loctite sets, you're not going to be able to tighten them very easily. The next piece will be to put these legs onto the pieces as seen. As stated, I'm getting ready to stick the legs on here. As I put the legs on, I'm also going to put on the B1 horizontal braces in order to support the legs and keep the stress off of the frame. Another way to have done this would be to get some type of a little footstool or something to put out here and support the legs while I'm doing that, and then tilt it up, put the other legs on. But in this case, I'm just going to use the horizontal braces, and I'm also going to put the diagonal braces into place to further help support the thing. And then I'll come back after everything is in place. Now it's going to cost me 6 nuts and bolts to do this. The legs, we got 2 of them up here. We're going to have 2 horizontal braces, and we're going to have 2 diagonals, a total of 6. As I'm getting ready to start, you can see there's 2 different lengths. The short ones go at the top, the tall ones go at the bottom, so it's a no-brainer on this. This is going to be a confusing mess, but bear with me. These are my vertical supports. These are my diagonals coming down from the top. I ended up having to put a trash can down here because the weight of these legs, this is a fairly substantial frame. When I bought it, I thought it was going to be one of those light jobs like I had last time, which, yeah, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't anywhere near the quality that this one is. I mean, this thing will last me forever. But back to the story, I ended up having to put a support under this, and I'm going to have to get another support for the other leg. So get a footstool, or in my case I'm using a 30-gallon trash can. You're going to need something to support this. And what I'll do, I'll put the other leg on, I'll put the brace across here, the brace down, and I'll also get ready to put these other legs on, and I may have to lift this slightly in order, or turn it even, possibly, to get the other legs on. But we'll see. As you can see, I have my diagonals here, my uprights or horizontals here, and across for spacers. Now the next thing to do is to put the bottom legs on. When I raise this up to put the bottom legs on, I'm going to have a bit of a problem. I'm thinking that my best option is to flip it over with the legs to the bottom and then start again. If you notice, I also have these diagonals here in place, ready to go. Now, I don't have any diagonals on the other side, and I haven't attached the bottom pieces yet. But as you can see, it's beginning to look more like the picture than not. I really think that having a lot of empty boxes or something like that for spacers would be a real good deal. The instructions don't say anything about that, but oh well, life goes on. After I had 3 legs on it, the 4th leg just wasn't really going together. The frame, the ratio of weight to stability just overwhelms the pieces. One of my diagonals got bent, not a big deal. I straightened it out easily. We're not talking a serious bend. This is a tall windmill tower. It's about 6 foot or 6.5, something like that. I would strongly suggest, if you have a place where you can hang this thing, once you have the top tower piece assembled, that's going to be your 4 at the top, and then your platform, the working platform where the guys would walk around. I would suggest hanging it and assemble the pieces, since everything is loose, and as you put it together with your diagonals, which you see here and right down here, as you get those into place, the thing kind of comes together. It's still going to be flimsy until you tighten it up, but by hanging it and using maybe a 6-foot ladder, I think it'd go together a whole lot better. It is a tall tower. Now the wind is coming through here pretty good, and it's not blowing over. Of course, the windmill's not on it. It is heavy, I will tell you that. And right now, as you look, you can see a lot of the screws are sticking out because nothing is tight. I'm still assembling. With the tower assembly finished, I'll set it to the ground, and I'll now put Loctite on this top portion where the working platform is. And after I do that, then I'll build the tail assembly. We'll put it together and see how it does in this wind. Alright, this is the tail assembly. This is your swivel. It holds the fan and the tail section so that it's directed into the wind. Right here I have the 2 pieces of the tail section, and right here I have the tail section. Now these 2 bolts fit here. These 3 holes up here, if you can see them, fit into this. This piece points up like so. On a real wind turbine, the ones that pump water, the shaft horsepower comes in, and if you're looking at it like this, as it comes in and it's spinning, there's 2 wheels, they're very small, right here. These 2 wheels turn 2 large wheels over here. These large wheels have push rods, that has 2 push rods like so. So it works like a reciprocating engine. Think of a steam locomotive. You know how when the wheels spin, it goes up and down, up and down. Well, these rods push against, it's a wheel in here that rides on a U-bolt, up and down. And as it rides, as this mechanical energy is transferred into this up and down motion, on here you have a lifter which attaches to a sucker rod. The sucker rod runs down through the windmill to a rod pump, and the rod pump then lifts. I actually have one that I can show you. I do not have an air motor. I wish I did. I don't. But that's how it works. The shaft horsepower comes in, turns 2 small gears, which turn 2 large gears that have the reciprocating piece that come up and down and push on the wheel in here that lifts the sucker rod up and down. Without getting into a lot of detail, you can adjust the stroke length. I don't know that you can adjust the stroke speed, because that's going to be dependent on the windmill's spinning. So I'm going to put this together, and then once I have this together, putting the wind turbine on it, we'll see how it works. As you can see, here's the assembly. It will ride just like this. It'll turn. The wind turbine sits here. It'll turn into the wind. These bolts are a bit long. I may come back and cut those with a Dremel a little bit later, but for now it's all put together. Oh yeah, turns good. Let's throw the turbine on and see what happens. The wind is basically coming from the right hand side, so it should be turning, but it's also not level anymore. Okay, I've tried to level it. Now let's see what happens. Getting a decent wind coming. If you're wondering what I'm going to be doing with this wind turbine, I'm going to be using it as a prop in my Stickman. I'm going to be using this as a prop in my Stickman series, as well as experimenting with 3-phase electricity on a very micro scale. Okay, we're turning into the wind. And there it goes. It's going into motion. Now I've got a lot of trees around here, and that's sucking the power out of the wind. The generator that I'll be building will have, I believe, 60 magnets. And they're the neodymium, they're very strong. So we're getting some wind power here. Now if you look at it, you might be able to see that it's out of round. That's why I use the Loctite, so that that vibration as it's transmitted down doesn't cause the screws to loosen up. Now it's going pretty good.